I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of painting a bisque fired, so that's to 1000 degrees centigrade piece of clay work. So at 1000 degrees with bisque fire, fired in the kiln, the clay is still quite absorbent. So I'm going to paint with that in mind, in acrylics. So I've got a small amount of acrylics on a little tray here, and water pot. What I'm going to do is where I intend to put some colour, I'm just going to paint it wet to start off with, and then I'm going to take a little bit of yellow from the palette here, the tray. So I'm going to start with the lightest colours. I can add a bit of white into that. So it's soaking into the clay really nicely. And I'm going to switch to a little bit of the red. Just a tiny amount on the brush there, hardly anything at all. I'm just going to brush that in. The lips on this character. This character is inspired by a little bit of visual research into Eileen Agar, the surrealist artist Eileen Agar, and the Dada artist Hannah Hook. I think that's how you say it. Not entirely sure. And so Eileen Agar painted and collaged and created unusual sort of mask-like faces, and Hannah Hook was a real pioneer in sort of creating collage work from printed photographs, so in newspapers and magazines. So she was one of the first artists to do that. So I've kind of taken inspiration from both of those, and then created this clay piece. Just going to pick it up so I can get in a bit easier. So you can, because the paint is very fluid, it's going to absorb nicely into those little folds and creases within the clay. Because I want the viewer to be able to know what it's made out of, or have a good idea when they look at it. So acrylic paint is a plastic, and if I paint this really thickly, it will lose the surface quality of the slightly rough and almost sandy look to the clay. So that bit, I can always wash that bit out. That blue went on that red bit too thickly. A bit purple for the right in between the fingers there. Might go back to the yellow, see what are the lighter areas, maybe the edge of the ear. And I've got this sort of crown. So I kind of referenced both artists in the creation of this. It's not exactly the same as the design in my book, but it reflects that visual research. So I'm not actually mixing colour at all on the tray, but I'm noticing a beautiful colour where that's overlapped this kind of turquoise, the yellow overlapping the turquoise. You want to paint, think of the edges as being as important as the centre. It has got a back to it. There you go, with my signature on it. But take care to take the colour right to that edge. Red inside the ear. It's almost like sort of scumbling with the brush to get it to go into all the little grooves.
Banana though.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, that hopefully will.
So with acrylics you can use it a little bit thicker as well, to kind of brush over the surface. So it's avoiding the crevices and just making contact with the high points. So this section here, this bit is very much inspired by Hannah Hook, because I've replaced the eye with some lips and some teeth. So that's one of the main focal points of this piece. So I need to work in this bit a bit more detailed. I'm just going to try and drop a little bit of black in between the teeth. The good thing about this is that if there was a painted part of it that you weren't happy with, easily you can wipe it off. Whites of the eye. Perhaps painted nails. Red would look good against the turquoise skin. A little bit of highlight on there. Black up the nostril. Maybe in the earlobe. it's very forgiving because it just brings up a nice texture. Almost stippling, I suppose, with the brush straight on to get into these circles that I'd scratched into the surface of the clay. Sort of bracelet bit, so I might try and make it darker in between. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little loop to hang this from, so I'm going to do that, I don't know, about 20 centimetres length of string. Easy to cut string if you hold it using your fingers like that and then snip, even if they're blunt scissors. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to hold it in half like that. Now at that halfway point, clockwise, I'm going to twist it like that. Then I can push that through this hole that I made in the piece. And ease that through. Need to push it a little bit more. Like that. Then in that loop, pull that end through and sort of back and forward, sort of tighten it up, and then I can do the knot. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Like that. Okay, so I'd like to colour that string, and I'll just snip off the excess like that. So like that, so it cuts easily. Just place that on the tray, and then I can paint over this string with colour, just so it links in with your colourway. Bit of red there. You can gradate it, ombre, as some students like telling me. Ombre effect. Check that it's good on both sides. into the hole that I made before firing. Just check that outside. It's these like little finishing off details that make a big difference. And actually I can put a little bit more paint on that bit, because when that dries that'll act like a glue. Just notice the back of the finger, didn't put any colour on that. Okay, all there actually. So rotating it round, you notice bits that you might have missed. So I'll go to wash my fingers afterwards. It won't stain your skin, it's just you don't want to get acrylic on your clothes, because it will stain your clothes. Bit missed there as well. Had a bit of different colour there, just a bit more interest. Okay. A bit of red on the outside of the ear actually. I do a little bit there that kind of looked like a mistake, so I can hide that really easily. There you go.